I spent over a year planning our family vacation to Paris and London. And it was as amazing as I had hoped it would be. The majority of things went smoothly, the weather was great, and we came back pretty much in one piece, although jet-lagged and exhausted from so much walking. We had a lot planned, and yet a few weeks before we left, I added to our plans by reaching out to friends who live in Paris and London to see if they would be available to get together. And wonderfully, they all said yes. I hoped that these visits would be a chance to catch up, make new memories, much in the same way that visiting the Eiffel Tower and the Tower of London are memory-making. A mental photograph, if you will, to reminisce over in my emotional scrapbook. And yet, as is the case with God, these gifts were so much more. One of our visits was with a family friend who moved to London more than 30 years ago. We were blessed to catch her in between trips. However, her husband was not able to join us because he was volunteering, as he does most Friday nights, to make hundreds of meals for the hungry in London. And when he isn't doing that, he spends weeks every year in Kathmandu working with 2 orphanages. I had no idea. I had no idea Kevin was spending his time making such a difference in the lives of his fellow Brits or in the lives of children 4,600 miles away. I was equally amazed to learn that my family friend Cindy has been volunteering for almost a decade with the nonprofit Global Dignity. I'd never heard of Global Dignity. After hearing about her work and their work, though, I looked them up. For 20 years, in over 80 countries, Global Dignity has celebrated Global Dignity Day on the 3rd Wednesday of October. Have you ever? No? They've led workshops and supported local leaders, all for the purpose of uniting more people in the belief that everyone deserves to live a life of dignity. It's good, important work that I hope that every person will be a part of, creating communities that value and celebrate dignity for all. While in London, I also attended the church of a colleague I have known for 20 years. 9 years ago, she was called to become the senior pastor of the American International Church in London. And it was such a treat to see her and to hear her really good worship message and to sit in the pew for a whole worship service. Little did I know that God had an additional blessing in store. Sitting 2 pews in front of me, visiting London for the weekend, was Dr. Tracy D. Hall. When her name was raised up as a joy in the time of prayer, I thought, oh, how nice. After worship, when I was introduced to her and discovered who she really was, I thought, oh, wow. Because Dr. Tracy Hall is not only a professor at the University of Washington, she is also the past executive director of the American Library Association, the oldest and largest library association in the world. As my clergy colleague put it, Dr. Hall was the top librarian for our entire country. And she began that position just a few weeks before the world was forever changed by COVID-19. And I got to meet her. I got to hear about her dedication to making reading in all of its forms, paper books and digital books, accessible to adults and their families, and especially to those who are incarcerated and those reentering society after being incarcerated. As people of the Word, we too believe that reading, literacy, and words change lives. God blessed our family vacation in so many expected and unexpected ways, and one of those unexpected blessings came our last day in London. We were walking to the train station and passing the University of London. There on the sidewalk was a man with a food cart. On weekdays, my colleague's church rents their front sidewalk to international food cart sellers, and we had already passed another church doing the same thing. So I wondered if that was what the man was doing, selling lunch to students at the University of London. Except the ages were much more diverse than your typical college student. And as he scooped stew into bowls and people helped themselves to rolls on the side of the cart, I didn't see any payment going on. And then I took a really good look at the food cart. Food for All UK. As you might guess, Food for All believes in food for all, that food is a fundamental human right. So I'm guessing that the man was simply giving out food for any and all who wanted it. And it was clear by the crowd that there were lots of people who were appreciating what he was doing. When I planned our family vacation, not even once did I think, let me seek out people who are doing good work. Let me find those places where people by faith and through faith are doing heroic, amazing things and helping God's dream come true. And yet my experience on vacation reminds me, and I hope reminds you, that we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses. We are surrounded by good people doing good, even amazing things each and every day. In the letter to the Hebrews, the author is writing to inspire and encourage this Christian community. The author is reminding these fairly new Christians that by faith and through faith, when we trust God, we have the strength, we have the ability to do amazing, world-changing things. The stories the author writes of, the names the author lists, all would have been familiar to this community. They would have grown up hearing the stories of Samson, David, and God's people who passed through the Red Sea. Gideon, Barak, and Jephthah, 3 leaders from the book of Judges, plus Rahab, a woman and a foreigner, could all have been listed in a book called Heroes of the Bible. And yet, once upon a time, all of these extraordinary people were ordinary people, just like us, children and youth, family members, friends, and neighbors. And yet, by faith, through faith, by listening and trusting God, each one of these people in the Bible grew up to do amazing, world-changing things that help God's dream come into being. The writer of the letter of Hebrews wanted that Christian community to know that because they were surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, because they had this legacy of faithful ancestors, that they too could do amazing, world-changing things. It's equally true for us. We too are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, by our ancestors who did hard things, who left their homes for a better life, who served our country for a better world, who worked long hours to make sure there was enough food on the table, as they also made sure there was enough love in our homes. We continued to be surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, by family and friends and neighbors and colleagues who are working for dignity, working to feed all, working to unite people and bring peace and joy to our world. Every day, I am surrounded by those who work with Food Share and Meals for Neighbors, Agape House and Scouting America, our Bristol Public Schools and Bristol Public Library, to name just a few. Every day, I know I am surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. And with their witness, with them as role models, we discover that we too can run this race with perseverance. We can work to care for our neighbors in need. We can live in communities in which all people are fed. We can create a world in which all children live in safety and with dignity. We too can lay aside every weight that drags us down and the brokenness of our world that clings so closely, and looking to Jesus, depending on Jesus, we can act with hope. We can live in peace. We can share and receive love. We too can do amazing, world-changing things that help God's dream become a reality. Amen.